Environmental Affairs Minister Edna Molewa has introduced a 22-member committee of inquiry to look into whether South Africa should be trading in rhino horn. The Commission's investigation will determine whether a proposal will be tabled at the 17th Conference of Parties, or COP17, for a trade in rhino horn. Minister Molewa says South Africa has not yet taken a stance on this matter. Now, to discuss this in studio, I'm very pleased to be joined by Ms. Irene Haysaman, the chairperson of Rhino SA. Irene, a very good morning to you on Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning to you and morning to the listeners, and happy Valentine's Day to all our protectors out there looking after our rhino.
Thank you so much, Irene. Now, the Environmental Affairs Minister Edna Molewa has introduced a 22-member committee of inquiry to look into whether or not South Africa should be trading in rhino horn. What do you make of this, Irene?
I think that Edna Molewa is doing a good thing. I think that we do need a committee that is looking into these issues. One of our big concerns as a youth education and awareness education program is that the youth are not included in this committee. We feel that the youth are the future of this country. We feel that the youth are the future leaders of this country, and they should be mentored by the likes of our top environmentalists and researchers and everybody, in that they will know what to do in the future regarding future issues that come along. The other issue that we are a bit concerned about is that we would prefer to see some kind of international inclusion into the committee. We feel that countries like India, the Help Save my Rhino project there, My Horn, My Life, they need to be represented because they are trying to save the one-horned rhino as well. So any decisions that are taken will not only be affecting South Africa, but will be affecting other countries that also have rhino, and they need to be participants in the decision-making of this beautiful creature going forward.
Irene, you've just touched on a very important point there, that the youth you feel that the youth are not involved. But what questions and areas would you like to see addressed and researched by the committee before taking a last decision into the legalization and trade of rhino horn?
I think it is very, very important that firstly, the committee addresses all parties that are partisan to this, to what's going on. At the moment, out in the public domain, there appears to be a them and us scenario with the pro-traders and the anti-traders. I do feel that government needs to engage more with the anti-traders so that we get a proper, unbiased view from all sides, and looking at all sides, international as well as local researchers and everybody involved, educators, from government right down, need to actually get down and actually have a decision and make sure that that decision, if they do decide to trade in rhino horn, that they can ensure the world that they will be protecting the rhino species for future generations to come, because that will impact on Africa and impact on South Africa for future generations and our big five. They need to ensure that they can be 100% in letting the world know that they will be able to stop the curve in wildlife trafficking and to stop poaching on any decisions that are taken. The other issue that we would like to see them be 100% sure on being able to convince the public is that they are not going to go down the route of what has happened with our elephants, tigers, pangolins, and we can carry on. We need to ensure that the species that has been on the earth for nearly 65 million years are protected for the future of this country and our youth. Now, if we have a look at China, which is one of the biggest users of the commodity, we have got one of the biggest expanding countries in economic growth in the world. We engage with youth from Asia. These youth have told us that the use of rhino horn, a lot of the public using it are not aware, first of all, that it is coming from an animal. They are not aware that the animal is actually massacred in the most brutal way to obtain this renewable resource, a resource that is going to determine the future of this country and our tourism industry. And if we look at the way that China is developing and the middle class is moving up into the upper class, as one of the youth members told us 2 weeks ago, there is a financial explosion in China of the middle class and young up-and-coming executives. They are using their money on products like Rhino horn to show wealth. So the move is from health to wealth. Will the trade in Rhino horn be able to sustain the growth of the Asian markets? If we are looking at just an estimate, 2 grams of Rhino horn per day on, let's say, someone who believes that it could actually reduce their fevers, would be 6 grams, possibly in a month. Just to sustain that, if 10% of the Chinese population were to use that horn, I stand to correction, but we would need about 60,000 rhinos. We have less than 20,000 rhinos currently at the moment.
Irene, I really wanted to address this issue. You mentioned that Rhino SA is a youth education and awareness program. Now, according to your findings, do you feel that the general South African public and youth are educated well enough on this issue? And what more do you think still needs to be done?
I definitely don't think that our population is educated on this issue, not at all. Not going by our statistics that we have found. We can go into communities, first of all, where not one child has ever seen a living rhino. The only rhino they have seen is on the back of a 10 Rand note. We are trying to save a species which is going to impact on them having jobs in the future and our economic stability for Africa and South Africa going forward. We do not feel that as an education organisation, we do not feel that there is enough wildlife education into the education syllabus. We would like to see the government engage with us. We do have an educator who has written a curriculum. We need to work with these people to get it out to our public. We need to educate the public of South Africa on the preservation and protection of their heritage and of what they rightfully belong to protect for their future going forward. These animals belong to 80% of them, which we have in our country, belong to South African citizens. They belong to you, they belong to me, they belong to our children. And when we look at Dr. Ian Player and Makubun Tumbela and what they did in the 1960s to save these magnificent creatures, and we have gone full circle. When a man of that magnitude puts it into our hands to say the future of the rhino lies in the hands of the youth, we need to take up and take a stand. It's our duty as Africans to be the voice of all living things.
Irene, unfortunately, we have to end it there, but thank you so much for your time. You're very passionate about this, and I wish you the best of luck with the campaign.
Thank you very much for having us, and we're wishing you well, and happy Valentine's Day to everybody.
Thank you so much. Well, that was Irene Haysam, and she is the chairperson of Rhino SA. She was just giving us an insight into rhino horn trading.